just want to share some fun things about Pastor, but Pastor Bobby and I had to go on an ELN trip to Illinois, and we thought that it was going to kind of be like an all-expense-paid type of trip where they were having us come out and they would pick us up at the airport and they'd put us up, you know, at one of the people from the church's house. So we were surprised because we had to figure out how to get our own rental car and where we were going to stay. So once I told him that we had to book a hotel and rent a car, he said, well, why don't we just find the cheapest rental car? And why don't we find the cheapest hotel? And so I went ahead and I did that. And don't ever do that, because you get what you pay for. And let me just say, we saw our true colors on that trip, because when you're going on a long trip, you don't know where you are. That's just the humor in itself. So we're on this trip, and we get to the airplane, and we're on the airplane when you first have to check in, and Pastor Bobby and I are on our smartphones, our little PDA phones, and they're not even taken off yet. They haven't made any announcements yet. And Pastor and I are sitting, and I'm thinking we're about to get deported. Because this lady, the stewardess, she comes up to Pastor and says, sir, please turn off your mobile device. And he goes, it's off. And she goes, no, turn it off. He goes, the internet's not on, it's on airplane mode. And she goes, no, turn it off. And she meant turn the whole thing off. We couldn't even listen to music or play, Pac-Man or anything. And so Pastor gives her one of those California gang member looks. And I have to give him a little elbow there. And she said, sir, do you want me to show you how? And so that was just the beginning of the trip. So he puts his phone in his pocket. And I'm thinking we're going to have a great time talking instead of using our phones. He goes right to bed, just falls asleep immediately. So I'm sitting there in the airport in the window seat, so I don't even have anyone to talk to. And that was the beginning of my trip. So we get there. He literally wakes up right when we arrive. So I'm all alone, not talking to anyone the whole trip. So we get to the airport. So let me get back to the rental car situation. How many of you have heard of dollar rental? Okay, think of the dollar store, but a car, okay? Pastor says to me, where did you find these guys? I said, you wanted me to go with the cheapest car rental place. So, first of all, you are in the airport, and when you're at a new airport, you don't know where you're going, and they just tell you to follow the rental car signs. This rental car company didn't even have a rental car sign. We had to ask the other rental car companies where it was, and they're like, oh, dollar rental? Okay, you might want to just wait down on that end of the corner, because they're not allowed to pick up here. They scoop up their people over there. So we get on this shuttle bus that picks us up, and we're thinking the rental car place is right there, right at the airport. Nope. We get in that rental car shuttle bus, and Pastor's looking at me, where are they taking us? We're driving by barbed wire. We're thinking we're going to the penitentiary. Pastor goes, I don't know about this. And so we're just driving. It's like a half an hour later. Finally, we pull up to this rental car lot. And so, finally, we made it. So we pull up, and the cars don't look that bad. So we go in, and I have never met meaner people in my life, ever. And so Pastor's like, okay, you deal with it. So I go up to the desk, and I get everything worked out, everything situated. At the last and final minute, they wouldn't take my debit card, because if they take your debit card, they have to put a $1,000 incidental charge on it. And so then Pastor had to start the whole process back over again, and go through the whole process with his credit card. And then the guy's like, do you need the Easy Pass? Do you need the Fast Lane Pass? And we're like, how much does that cost? They go, well, it costs this much. And we say, well, how much is it for the tolls? And he goes, oh, it's only this much. And it was less. So we're like, no, we'll just save some change and not do that. So we get in the car, and this car, it's kind of like if you were driving on top of a cigarette. They did not clean this car out. It was like we were driving in an ashtray the whole time. And he had me drive so he could stick his head out the window in the passenger side. And we're driving, people are looking at us, and we were driving, and Pastor Bobby sets up the GPS, and he pulls out this map. And I'm like, what's that? He brought in his backpack one of those old big maps. Remember people used to have maps? Remember they used to use those things? He unfolds it. I can't even see the windshield. I'm like, Pastor, I got a GPS right in front of me. He's like, yeah, but I feel more comfortable this way. So he's looking at the map. I'm trying to look at the GPS. So we go through this toll thing. And we're like, oh, that was weird. So we keep driving. And there's these toll things that you're supposed to get off and get back on. So the guy with the Easy Pass never told us that's why he offered us one. He never told us that the tolls down in, what was it, in Illinois? Chicago and Illinois, you have to go to the right and then come back on. So Pastor got so upset that the guy didn't explain it, and I was so ripped. I said, I can't believe that, because it said charge $50. And we already went through like 3 of them. So then we see the next one, so I definitely pull over. And I'm like, I'm going to have a talk. So I get out, and there's like this double wide trailer. Just like a little trailer on the side of the toll booth. So I'm knocking on doors, Pastor's over laughing at me. I'm knocking on doors, knocking on windows, trying to get hold of someone, because we knew we were going to get charged to the credit card, because they got the license plate, and the license plate from the rental gets attached to your credit card. So long story short is we couldn't find anyone to talk to, so we just kept driving. And we knew this was a bad rental car to be with from the beginning. So then the hotel. The hotel. Okay, so I booked the cheapest hotel, right? That's what I was told to do. Now, when you're in a major city, there's probably a lot of cheap hotels to choose from. But this was like a small city, a big town. And they didn't have many hotels to choose from. And I know why now. We get there, and the name of it is the Decatur Conference Center. So we're thinking, this is going to be a nice place, like the DCU, convention center. We're gonna be fine. We get there. There is the Public Works Department of Decatur having their weekend getaway party or something going on. It was the wildest hotel I've ever been in, and these are grown adults. So I get our room keys and we go, and Pastor cannot sleep because we pull back the shades and realize the courtyard, the foyer where they have the conventions, is right out our window, and we had a convention room. So we were trying to deal with the noise. We couldn't deal with it, so he said, just go see if we can switch our room. So I went over to the front desk, and this lady was like Southern. She was nice. She was the nicest part of our trip. And she was like, oh, sure, no problem, sir. Well, at least I thought she was nice. So she sent us to D14 or something, and we went down the hall, all the way down the hall, like the farthest you can go, to the far corner of the building, because she said there's not going to be any noise there. So Pastor goes, this is pretty quiet. And I said, I smell something, Pastor. And he goes, I'm tired. I'm not moving my room again. I'm going to bed. So he goes and gets settled in, and I'm smelling something, and I'm like, I'm going to investigate this. So I went back to the front desk while he's snoring, and I say to a different lady, I said, listen, we get put in this D14 room. She goes, oh, no one's supposed to be in that section. I said, why? She goes, well, we just got fined for mildew problems over there. So now I have to go wake Pastor up after this long airplane with no cell phone use, after this horrible car rental, and I go to wake him up. He's in his pajamas. And I tell him, Pastor, there's like mold and mildew in this place. And you guys know how I am about germs, right? So he's like, okay, fine, we'll move. Now the story gets better. First of all, I'm thinking, okay, just grab your bag, let's go. He wanted to get fully dressed. He didn't want to walk through the hotel in his pajamas. So I'm like, all right. So he gets his outfit back on. So half an hour later, Mexican old men take a long time to get dressed. Half an hour later, we're going to the top floor of the other side of the building where supposedly there's no noise and no mildew. So we're making it there on our own. So it was like a wild goose chase. It was a maze. If you remember, we went through all the halls that we could find. By that time, the party's going on. Nobody's at the front desk. We're going up stairway to stairway, and there's no way to like the 4th floor through any stairway. So we find an elevator. We get on the elevator. It's the service elevator that goes to the kitchen. This guy is falling asleep in the elevator, wicked tired. finally we get to our room and he looks at me and says, we're not going to move our room, right? And we didn't move our room again, but I let him sleep and I went to the front desk, and needless to say, we didn't pay for that hotel room, so we really got our money's worth. So that's my funny story about that trip, and we had a great time. But I do want to say, after working alongside Pastor Robbie for 4 years, he's awesome, he's a great guy, and this, honestly, should be more than just a birthday and a celebration. It should be an honor for us to just have him as our pastor. I'm not just saying that, come up here. He's an awesome guy.
Amen.
Amen. And it's a rarity. How many Mexican pastors do we have in New England? Come on. This is great, all right? High commodity going on right here. So that's all I have to say, and just please never, ever go with the cheapest, okay?
All right.